My mom kept my sisters, sent me to foster care because I looked like Dad. Years later, she knocked on my door asking for help, but she didn't expect who answered. "You threw me away like garbage because I reminded you of him," I shouted, my voice cracking. "I was your child!" "You don't understand what it was like," my mother whispered, refusing to meet my eyes. "Every time I looked at you, I saw I was 5, Mom. A little girl who needed her mother. Sophia and Carmen needed me too," she countered defensively. "But they got to keep you. I got strangers and system paperwork that listed me as unwanted by biological parent." My earliest memory is sitting on a caseworker's bench, clutching a backpack with everything I owned, watching my mother walk away holding my sister's hands. I was 5 years old. I remember calling out, "Mommy, when are you coming back?" She never turned around. For years, I convinced myself it was temporary, that there had been some mistake or my mother was sick or she couldn't afford 3 children. I told myself any story that would make sense of why she kept my sisters, but surrendered me to the state. I needed to believe she had a good reason. The foster care system isn't kind to children with questions. My first placement was with the Hendersons, a couple who fostered 6 children at once for the monthly stipend. We were numbers to them, not people. My second placement ended after 4 months when Mr. Crawford's late-night room checks raised suspicions. By age 8, I'd been in 4 different homes. Then came Dorothy Brennan. She was different. A retired elementary school teacher with a small house filled with books and a garden that needed tending. When the social worker dropped me off, Dorothy didn't immediately show me house rules or where to put my things. Instead, she asked if I was hungry. "I made chicken noodle soup," she said, leading me to a sunny kitchen. "And there's fresh cornbread." I remember staring at her, waiting for the catch. There was always a catch. "It's just soup, Marina," she said gently. "No strings attached." That first night when I wet the bed, a shameful habit that had followed me through foster homes, I tried to hide the evidence. Previous foster parents had punished me, made me sleep on the floor, or worse. When Dorothy found me scrubbing the sheets in the bathroom at 2 a.m., she didn't yell. "Accidents happen," she said, helping me with the sheets. "Bodies take time to heal from stress." I lived with Dorothy for 6 years. She never tried to adopt me. "The system makes it too difficult for single women my age," she explained. But she was the closest thing to a mother I'd known since I was 5. She helped me with homework, taught me to garden, and most importantly, she listened. "Why didn't my mom want me?" I asked her once when I was 10. "Why did she keep my sisters but not me?" Dorothy's face softened with sadness. "Some wounds run so deep they make people do terrible things, even to those they should protect. It was never about you not being lovable." When I was 11, my curiosity about my biological family became overwhelming. Dorothy helped me contact my social worker, Patricia Hayes, to request information. "There's not much in your file," Patricia admitted during our meeting. "Your mother, Valentina Cruz, voluntarily surrendered custody when you were 5. Your sisters remained in her care. Your father, Derek Ashford, left when you were 2. His whereabouts are unknown." "But why?" I persisted. "Why me and not my sisters?" Patricia hesitated, glancing at Dorothy, who nodded encouragingly. "According to the intake notes, your mother stated she couldn't—" Patricia paused, clearly uncomfortable. "She said she couldn't stand to look at you because you reminded her too much of your father. Apparently you have his eyes, his expressions." The words hit me like a physical blow. I was surrendered because of my face, because I looked like someone who had hurt my mother. I couldn't process it. That night I stared at myself in the mirror for hours. My hazel eyes, the shape of my nose, the dimple in my left cheek when I smiled. Which parts of me had been so unbearable to my own mother that she'd rather give me to strangers than see me every day? Dorothy found me there, still scrutinizing my reflection at midnight. "You look like yourself," she said firmly. "You're Marina, not your father, not your mother's pain, just you." Over the next few years, I wrote letters to my mother and sisters. Most came back unopened. The few replies were brief and cold. Mom doesn't want contact. Please stop trying. Sophia. The rejection hurt, but it also fueled something in me. If my mother didn't want me because I reminded her of my father, I would become someone impossible to ignore or forget. I threw myself into school, determined to prove my worth through achievement. By 17, I was at the top of my class, captain of the debate team, and had earned a full scholarship to Northwestern University. Dorothy beamed with pride at my graduation. "You did this," she said, straightening my cap. "Not despite your past, but with the strength it gave you." I moved into the dorms, but visited Dorothy regularly. She'd become frailer, her arthritis making gardening difficult. I helped when I could, planting the roses she loved and weeding the flower beds. During my sophomore year of college, I received a surprising email from my sister, Carmen, now 15. "Marina, I found your email through your university profile. I've always wanted to know you. Mom doesn't know I'm contacting you. Can we talk?" Carmen. We began a secret correspondence. Carmen told me about her life, about Sophia, who was now in community college, and about our mother, who worked 2 jobs as a hospital administrator and bartender. According to Carmen, our mother never spoke of me or our father, but kept a locked box of photos in her closet. "Sometimes I hear her crying at night," Carmen wrote. "She's never gotten over what Dad did, whatever that was." Through Carmen, I learned that our father had been emotionally abusive and controlling. He'd isolated our mother from friends and family, monitored her every move, and when she finally stood up to him, he'd become violent. The night our father left, police had been called. He disappeared afterward, leaving my mother traumatized and struggling to support 3 young children. "But that doesn't excuse what she did to you," Carmen wrote. "I found the paperwork. I know she gave you up voluntarily. Knowing the background helped me understand, but didn't heal the wound of abandonment. I'd been punished for a resemblance, for genetics I couldn't control." My mother had looked at a 5-year-old girl and seen only the man who had hurt her. When I graduated with my business degree at 21, both Carmen and Sophia snuck away to attend the ceremony. We met for the first time in 16 years in a coffee shop near campus. The resemblance between us was striking. We shared our mother's high cheekbones and full lips, but I also saw the differences. I had our father's hazel eyes, while theirs were dark brown like our mother's. "You're exactly how I imagined," Carmen said, tears streaming down her face. Sophia was more reserved. "I remember the day Mom took you away," she admitted. "I didn't understand what was happening. By the time I was old enough to question it, she'd made it clear we weren't to talk about you." "Does she ever mention me?" I couldn't help asking. Sophia and Carmen exchanged looks. "Only when she drinks," Sophia finally said. "Then she cries and says she did what she had to do." After graduation, I was hired by Sterling Consulting Group, a prestigious firm that specialized in healthcare administration. Ironically, my first major client was Riverside Medical Center, the same hospital where my mother worked as an administrator. I hadn't planned it, but when I saw the opportunity, something in me couldn't resist. Dorothy cautioned me when I told her. "Revenge rarely brings the satisfaction we hope for," she warned. "It's not revenge," I insisted. "It's closure." Our first meeting was pure business. Me representing my consulting firm, her as the hospital's administrative director. If she recognized my name on the meeting agenda, she gave no indication. When I entered the conference room with my team, I watched her carefully. "Miss Cruz, I'm Marina Ashford from Sterling," I said, extending my hand. Her eyes widened slightly and her handshake faltered, but she quickly composed herself. "Welcome to Riverside. Let's discuss your proposal." For the next hour, she avoided direct eye contact, speaking mainly to my colleagues. As the meeting ended, I deliberately lingered, organizing my papers slowly. When everyone else had left, she finally spoke directly to me. "You could have warned me." "Warned you?" I asked innocently. "About who you are," she said, her voice tight. "This is inappropriate." "Is it inappropriate for me to do my job, or inappropriate that the daughter you threw away is now successful enough to be sitting across a conference table from you?" Her face paled. I can't do this here. This is my workplace. Funny how that works, I replied coldly. You couldn't be my mother in your home, and now you can't acknowledge me in your office. Where exactly am I allowed to exist in your world, Valentina? Before she could answer, I walked out. That night, Carmen called me in a panic. Mom came home completely wrecked. What happened? We had a business meeting, I said simply. Marina, she's been drinking and crying for hours. Sophia's with her now. I felt a twinge of guilt but pushed it down. She made her choice 16 years ago. These are the consequences. Over the next 3 months, I led the consulting project at Riverside. My team worked with various departments, frequently requiring Valentina's input and approval. Each meeting was strictly professional, but the tension was undeniable. Twice she requested that I be removed from the project. My superiors refused. I was doing excellent work and they had no reason to reassign me. Meanwhile, my relationships with my sisters deepened. Sophia, initially hesitant, began to open up about her own struggles growing up with our mother's unresolved trauma. Carmen shared her college plans and hopes for the future. I became the big sister I'd never had the chance to be. Then came the hospital fundraising gala, a mandatory event for both the consulting team and administrative staff. I arrived early, feeling confident in a deep emerald gown that Dorothy had helped me choose. You look stunning, Miss Ashford, said Brandon Wells, the hospital's legal counsel who had been working closely with our team. Thank you, I replied, accepting the champagne flute he offered. Have you been with Riverside long? 5 years, he said. Long enough to know there's quite a story behind your interactions with Ms. Cruz. Office gossip is rarely accurate, though, I said with a laugh that held no humor. That's an understatement. Brandon's kindness and genuine interest caught me off guard. Throughout the evening, he remained by my side, a buffer against the curious stares and whispers. When Valentina entered, wearing a conservative black dress and a forced smile, he sensed my tension. Would you like to step outside for some air? He offered. On the terrace, I finally told him the truth. How my mother had abandoned me because I resembled my father. How I'd grown up in foster care while my sisters remained with her. How this consulting project was my first opportunity to confront the woman who had shaped my life through her absence. That's unconscionable, he said when I finished. I can't imagine doing that to a child. Neither could I until I met Dorothy, I admitted. She showed me what real mothering looks like, even without biological ties. Our conversation was interrupted when the terrace door opened and Valentina stepped out. She froze when she saw us. Miss Cruz, Brandon acknowledged awkwardly. I should get back inside, he said before leaving. As he left, Valentina approached cautiously. You've made quite an impression on the board, she said stiffly. They're very impressed with your work. Is that really what you came out here to say? I asked. She sighed, dropping the professional pretense. What do you want from me, Marina? An apology? It won't change the past. I want to understand how a mother could look at her 5-year-old child and decide she couldn't bear the sight of her. I want to know why my face was more important than my heart. You threw me away like garbage because I reminded you of him, I shouted, my voice breaking. I was your child. You don't understand what it was like, my mother whispered, refusing to meet my eyes. Every time I looked at you, I saw I was 5, Mom. A little girl who needed her mother. Sophia and Carmen needed me too, she countered defensively. But they got to keep you. I got strangers and system paperwork that listed me as unwanted by biological parent. Tears streamed down her face now. I was broken after what your father did. I am not my father, I interrupted. I was an innocent child punished for someone else's crimes. Do you have any idea what that does to a person? To grow up believing you're inherently unlovable? Our raised voices had drawn attention. Through the glass doors, I could see gala attendees watching, including several board members. Valentina noticed too, and immediately tried to regain her composure. Please lower your voice, she hissed. These are my colleagues. Your reputation matters more than the truth, doesn't it? I shot back. It always has. I walked away, leaving her on the terrace, but the damage was done. The hospital grapevine worked quickly. Within days, the story had spread not just of our confrontation, but of what had preceded it. Valentina's decision to surrender one child while keeping two others raised uncomfortable questions about her judgment and character. 2 weeks later, I received a call from the hospital's CEO, Dr. Helen Foster. "Ms. Ashford, I want to personally thank you for your team's excellent work," she said, "and to inform you that we've decided to implement all of your recommended changes. We'll be restructuring several departments, including administration." What she didn't say, but what Brandon told me later, was that Valentina had been asked to resign. Her position required making difficult decisions about patient care and hospital resources. The board had lost confidence in her ability to make those decisions ethically after learning how she had treated her own child. I felt no joy at the news, only a hollow vindication. My mother's career implosion wasn't my goal. I'd simply wanted her to acknowledge what she'd done. But actions have consequences, and hers had finally caught up with her. The day after Valentina's resignation, Sophia called me. "Mom's a mess," she said without preamble. "She lost her job, and now she's talking about selling the house and moving away." "I didn't ask for her to be fired," I said truthfully. "I know," Sophia sighed, "but I also know you didn't exactly try to prevent it. Look, I'm not blaming you. What she did was terrible, but she's still our mother. She stopped being my mother the day she left me on that bench," I replied. A week later, Carmen appeared at my apartment door without warning. Her eyes were red from crying. "Mom wants to see you," she said. "She said she's moving to Phoenix next month. She says she needs to talk to you before she goes." I almost refused, but the look on Carmen's face stopped me. "Fine, but I'm not going to her house." We met at a small park halfway between our homes. Valentina looked diminished somehow. Her confident, administrative demeanor was replaced by nervous fidgeting. She sat on a bench, ironically similar to the one she'd left me on 16 years earlier, and waited as I approached. "Thank you for coming," she began. "I'm here for Carmen, not for you," I said flatly. She nodded, accepting this. I deserved to lose my job. I deserved everything that's happened. When your father left, I was shattered. Every time I looked at you with his eyes, his expressions, it was like he was still there, still hurting me. "So you hurt me instead," I said. "Yes," she admitted, and the simple acknowledgement stunned me. "I told myself it was for your own good, that you'd be better off with a mother who didn't flinch when you smiled. But I was wrong. I was selfish and broken, and I failed you completely. Why are you telling me this now?" "Because you deserve to hear it, and because I'm leaving. The house is being sold to pay off debts. Sophia is taking Carmen until she finishes high school, and She trailed off. "I need to start over somewhere else." I studied the woman before me. This stranger who had given me life, then rejected me, and whose life was now unraveling partly because of my presence. I felt no satisfaction in her downfall, only a deep sadness for all of us. "I don't forgive you," I said finally. "Maybe someday, but not now." "I understand," she replied quietly. "I wouldn't forgive me either." 3 months later, Dorothy died peacefully in her sleep. At her funeral, I stood between Sophia and Carmen, accepting condolences from people who had known and loved the woman who had truly mothered me. Valentina sent flowers from Phoenix, but didn't attend. In Dorothy's will, she left me her small house and garden, along with a letter I read alone the night after the funeral. "Dearest Marina," she had written, "you came to me broken by rejection, and I watched you rebuild yourself into someone remarkable. Remember that your worth was never determined by those who couldn't see it. Your mother's failure to love you was her tragedy, not yours. Forgiveness isn't something you owe her. It's a gift you may someday give yourself. Until then, tend the garden. Watch things grow. Know that you were loved completely, not despite your father's eyes, but including them, because they're part of the wonderful person you are." I folded the letter carefully and walked out to Dorothy's garden. The roses needed pruning, the flower beds weeding. I grabbed the gardening gloves she always kept by the back door and got to work. As I knelt in the soil, pulling weeds and deadheading flowers, I thought about everything that had led me here. The abandonment, the foster homes, the years of wondering what was wrong with me, the confrontation with my mother, her resignation, Dorothy's death. And somehow, despite it all, I was still standing, still growing like the roses Dorothy had taught me to tend. I had learned to bloom even in difficult soil. 6 months passed. I continued working at Sterling, moving on to new clients and new challenges. Sophia and Carmen became regular fixtures in my life. Sunday brunches, movie nights, the kinds of sister moments we should have had growing up. We were building something new from the wreckage of our shared past. Brandon and I began dating. He understood my complicated history and never pushed me to reconcile with Valentina. "Some relationships can't be salvaged," he said one evening as we sat in Dorothy's garden. "And that's okay." I received occasional texts from my mother in Phoenix. Brief updates about her new job at a small clinic, her apartment, the weather. I rarely responded, but I didn't block her number either. It felt like the right amount of distance. Then on what would have been Dorothy's 75th birthday, I drove to her grave with an armful of roses from the garden. As I arranged them by her headstone, I saw a figure approaching from across the cemetery. Valentina. She stopped several feet away, uncertainty written across her face. "Carmen told me you'd be here. I hope that's okay." I didn't respond immediately, just continued arranging the flowers. "I wanted to meet the woman who raised my daughter," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "To say thank you to someone who gave you what I couldn't." "Dorothy was everything you should have been," I said, still not looking at her. "I know." She stepped closer, holding a single white lily. "May I?" I nodded. She placed the lily beside my roses and stood silently for a moment. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she said finally. "I know I don't deserve it, but I wanted you to know that not a day goes by when I don't regret what I did. Not because it cost me my job or my reputation, but because I lost you. And that's a loss I'll carry forever." I finally looked at her. She'd aged considerably in the past months. Gray streaks creased her face. She looked smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of her choices. "I spent my whole life wondering what was wrong with me," I told her. "It took Dorothy to show me there was nothing wrong, that I was worthy of love exactly as I am. The eyes you couldn't stand to look at. They're mine now. They don't belong to Dad anymore. They're part of me, and I've learned to see them as beautiful." Tears rolled down Valentina's cheeks. "You are beautiful, Marina. You always were. That was never the problem. The problem was me." We stood there in silence. Two women connected by blood and trauma, separated by choices that couldn't be undone. "I should go," she said eventually. "Wait." The word surprised me as much as it surprised her. "Carmen's having dinner at my place on Sunday. Sophia will be there. If you want, you could come." "Really?" she asked. "I'm not promising anything," I said quickly. "No guarantees of reconciliation or happy endings, but maybe we could start with dinner." She nodded, fresh tears spilling over. "I'd like that. Thank you." As she walked away, I turned back to Dorothy's grave. "What do you think?" I asked the headstone quietly. "Am I doing the right thing?" The wind rustled through the trees, carrying the scent of roses. Somewhere nearby, a bird sang. In that moment, standing between the woman who had rejected me and the memory of the woman who had saved me, I realized something profound. Forgiveness wasn't about excusing what my mother had done. It wasn't about forgetting the years of pain or pretending the abandonment hadn't shaped me. It was about refusing to let that pain define the rest of my life. Dorothy had taught me to tend gardens, to nurture things that were struggling to grow. Maybe I could apply that same patience to the broken relationship with my mother. Not to restore what had been lost, that was impossible, but to cultivate something new from the ruins. I wouldn't forget. I wouldn't pretend the past hadn't happened. But maybe, just maybe, I could stop letting it determine my future. I placed one more rose on Dorothy's grave. "Thank you," I whispered, "for everything." As I walked back to my car, I pulled out my phone and texted Carmen. Tell Mom Sunday dinner is at 6. Tell her to bring wine. 3 dots appeared immediately, followed by Carmen's response. Really, oh my God, Marina, thank you. I love you. I love you too, I typed back. I looked at the garden one more time. Dorothy's legacy, now mine to tend, roses bloomed despite the approaching autumn. New buds formed even as older flowers faded. Life continued its cycle of death and renewal, loss and growth. I had Dorothy's eyes now, the ability to see potential in broken things. I had her patience, her wisdom, her garden, and I had something else too, a choice. The choice to carry forward the love she'd given me, rather than the pain my mother had caused. Sunday dinner might be awkward. It might even be a disaster. But it would be a beginning, and sometimes that's all you need. A single seed, a bit of water, time, and the willingness to believe that even in the hardest soil something beautiful might grow. What would you do if the parent who abandoned you suddenly wanted back in your life after you've built a successful life without them? Would you open that?